Hi, good morning. My name is Ronald Sultana. I'm the Director for Tourism and Economic Development within the Ministry for Gozo and Planning. So practically we should apply some context here and discuss how we operate. The Ministry for Gozo and Planning is the only ministry in the Maltese Islands who caters for a particular region, whereas the other ministries are more thematic. So what we do is that we have different sub-thematic areas that we cater for specifically. Invest Gozo is a new brand that follows up from another brand that we administer. It's the Visit Gozo brand, which has been there for around 12, 13 years. And what we wanted to do is to address a digital gap. We found that there's the need for more information about investment in Gozo, lifestyle in Gozo, education in Gozo, employment in Gozo. And we have culminated all this information into a new brand, and we have a new platform, Invest Gozo. We're on social media, we're online, and what we're doing as well now is reaching a new apex. We are collaborating with Sigma for the first time, and this is practically the best opportunity for us to make ourselves heard to the international public.
Thank you. What makes Gozo stand out as an investment destination, not only compared to mainland Malta, but also within Europe as a whole?
I think that the simplest answer is our size, but also our lifestyle. If we can go to the island lifestyle, you can immediately connotate yourself with the climate, with the coast, with the nature. And these are aspects that are increasingly sought by different people and different investors who want to relocate and move their business, their employment in different areas to where they're used to be. And in fact, we're seeing this with different conferences that we participate, the feedback that we get, and we're learning about how many different international guests we have living and residing in Gozo. And this continues to motivate us to tap into new areas, to continue to diversify our economy, which traditionally was based on tourism. I think it's quite logic. A small island in the middle of the Mediterranean focuses on tourism. But now our society has evolved. And that's why, as a government, we have seen lots of investment in infrastructure, and Gozo is now prepared. Gozo is now ready to attract the investment that we're trying to target.
How would you describe the current business environment in Gozo, and what feedback have you received from recent investors?
I think it's evolving. If we had to take out the numbers, very specific numbers, in the span of the last 6 years, the GDP grew by 74%. And if you look at EU standards, there's a large difference in that. At the same time, the employment rate grew by 48%. So these are numbers that show that there is a high level of trust and investment. As I mentioned before, obviously there's that element of tourism which continues to be a dominant force, but it is an evolution. And I think it's an economic cycle that is going to gradually cement us as one of the main investment hubs in the Mediterranean.
Can you walk us through the main incentives currently offered to businesses setting up in Gozo?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Well, we also have our own incentives, but at the same time, there are national incentives. And sometimes this has to be very well clearly explained. So what happens on a national level is all available on a regional level in Gozo. And there are also that element of positive discrimination, whereby those incentives that are on a national level have an actual top-up for Gozo. But then we, as Invest Gozo, we also have our own incentive schemes. And these incentive schemes are only exclusively available for those who are investing and implementing their business in Gozo. One of the schemes that practically is most popular is that we are addressing knowledge-based sectors such as gambling, finance, software, IT development, fintech, these sort of areas which we want to actually attract and accommodate in Gozo, and we're supporting in the employment of talent. And there are very generous salary reimbursements for a fixed term of 3 years, and it's catching up, and from the feedback we have, they're quite doing well. But I also want to add this. We never think that we have arrived at the point that we want to arrive. We want to continue to evolve. We want to continue to learn. And that is why this brand is now catching up in a very rapid pace. So now is the time that also on a holistic stakeholder level, we want to continue to discuss, review what we're offering in order to continue with the trends that investments are embarking on in this century,
Thank you. And what do you see as the biggest opportunity industries for Gozo in the coming years?
Again, I have to underline tourism because tourism remains very strong and we are seeing new levels of quality investments in tourism as well. So I think that's always going to be there. But in the end, it's about creating demand in order to get that demand. And the investments that we have made in the Gozo Innovation Hub, the Invest Gozo brand, the synergy that there are on national levels, I think it's going to take us to those areas that we want to really tap into. And I think it's the knowledge-based economy. And I have to say that we have a very talented pool of Gozotin-based employees. If we look on a tertiary level, Gozo is producing some of the most fantastic talent on the Maltese islands, and these are also in numbers. On a ratio per capita, these things are seen. So I think that the future is going to take us there, and we have to continue to inspire younger generations to be more adventurous in these areas as well.
What do you think are the main challenges to attracting more businesses to Gozo? Is it primarily a lack of awareness or something else?
So, in my eyes, I don't think that it's necessarily a challenge. I think it's a trajectory that we have to take. In the end, you cannot be static. You have to be online with trends as well. And it's part of a process. Again, we're a small island in the Mediterranean. The tourism aspect will always be there. And we're trying to continue to evolve. In terms of presence and exposure, that's why the brand is there. And that's why we are tapping into these markets. That's why we're collaborating with Sigma. And we've had a fantastic collaboration over the last 5 days. The feedback has been sensational. Gozo has been now given the exposure that it merits. And we hope that that element of exposure now continues to create momentum in order to take Gozo to the next level.
What message would you like to share with businesses or individuals who have never considered Gozo before?
A very simple answer is small is big. Gozo is a very small island, and sometimes that aspect of a geographical dimension creates wonderful opportunities, and that is the feedback that we got. So this is not just out of bias, being from Gozo, or the aspect that I am here to give Gozo the exposure. I'm speaking out of the feedback that we got from the affiliate program, from the VIP program that we organize with Sigma. And I think that this is the aspect that Gozo has to offer. Embracing the good life, the island lifestyle, the nature and the coastline. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you very much.